A Day with Yayah. This story is set in the Nicola Valley, British Columbia. It's a story about a First Nations family that goes on an outing to gather edible plants and mushrooms. The grandmother, Yayah, passes down her knowledge of the natural world to her young grandchildren. Within this beautiful story, there is Interior Salish words. I'm going to do my very best to respectfully pronounce them. A Day with Yayah, written by Nicola I. Campbell, illustrated by Julie Flett. Yayah and Nikki were busy tanning deer hides just as rainbow glimmered across the sky. Jamesy Pookins and Lenny came to visit from next door. "My sachama meat," Yayah asked. "Tell me, which plants are ready in the springtime?" "Haku is wild rhubarb, and Teseweta, wild celery," said Jamesy Pookins. "And they are pronounced Haku and Teseweta," added Nikki. "Don't forget wild potatoes and lightning mushrooms," said Lenny. "Yayah, what are they called in our language?" "Lightning mushrooms are called Inkike-Ixquin, and wild potatoes are called Titwin," Yayah answered. "Yes, you're right. Pronunciation is very important." They each practiced saying the X sound as though clearing their throats. "Can we come gathering with you, Yayah?" asked Nikki. "My sachama meat, you each have said you don't like to eat mushrooms. But we love gathering with you, Yayah," Lenny and Jamesy exclaimed. "Sachama meat means children," Nikki said, carefully pronouncing each syllable. Every day the children learned new words, and sachama meat was yesterday's word. Yayah quickly phoned their parents and packed lunch for everyone. Nikki's braids were poofed out everywhere. "Oh my goodness, Nikki, your hair is a mess," said Yayah, re-braiding her hair. Then she put a scarf on Nikki's head. Yayah wore a scarf too. Her braids were long and silver. "Honk, honk, let's go!" Everyone climbed into Auntie Karen's red minivan. Jamesy, Lenny, Nikki, Yayah, Grand Auntie Susan, and Grand Uncle Chester. "We always take the whole reserve everywhere we go," Nikki said. "This isn't the whole reserve, my nickel," Uncle Chester laughed. "We could easily fit 4 more. The van drove past a pond, turned down a bumpy road, and stopped. The sachama meat were excited. "Keep your hats on, watch out for wood ticks, and don't wander away." "Okay, Yayah," they sang out happily. "Let's check to see if the Haku and Tetwin are ready first," said Yayah as she walked toward the pond. The sachama meat followed, watching carefully for the tiny white flowers and the green shoots of Haku growing along the edges of the pond. These tender new plants can only be harvested in the springtime. It was a little bit early, but the weather was perfect. When Yayah found the Haku, she prayed and gave thanks for their first spring harvest. "Ku uks shita, Creator, for nourishing my family today." Then she picked one plant and peeled back the skin. It was crunchy and bright green between her teeth. As they happily harvested the Haku, Auntie Karen gathered Tesewita. "Let's look for Tetwin," said Yayah. They looked and looked, but they couldn't find Tetwin anywhere. "Their blossoms are very small and delicate, and their season is short," explained Auntie Karen. "It is very important that all plants and mushrooms are carefully examined and identified before you eat them." Yayah explained, "Some plants are very poisonous. Does anyone see a poisonous plant nearby?" The sachama meat looked everywhere. They saw fragrant pine trees, wildflowers, and tall grass. All around them, the birds were singing. Then they saw some low shrub with shiny, dark green, pointy-tipped leaves. "Poison ivy!" all 3 kids hollered at once. "Yes, don't touch the poison ivy," said Yayah. "It can cause a painful rash." "You can treat the rash with cucumbers, oatmeal, or calamine lotion," said Nikki. "Right, Yayah?" "Yes, my girl," Yayah answered. "But it depends on how severe the reaction is. Every person and every plant is different." "Who knows what lightning mushrooms look like?" Yayah asked. "They are golden brown, like marshmallows roasted on a willow stick," Jamesy was smiling. right before it catches fire, Lenny hollered. Everyone laughed. Good remembering, said Auntie Karen. Why are they called lightning mushrooms? Because they grow on the grassy circles after lightning hits, Nicky answered. I see some, Lenny hollered. The kids raced to the spot. Each of the Sachamamit took a pinch of tobacco for an offering. Kneeling down, they said, Kwa'uks Shita'ib, Creator, for feeding our loved ones today. Then Jamesy sliced the base of the mushroom and held it up for everyone to see. Who can tell me the name of this plant? Said Yayah, pointing to a patch of bright yellow flowers on the hillside. That's a sunflower, responded Lenny. Shu'ukswim. They're also called arrowleaf balsam root, said Nicky as she looked at the leaves and stem. We peel and eat the stem raw in the springtime, said Jamesy. Or they can be steamed. That's right, said Yayah. It looks similar to a wildflower called arnica. Arnica is a powerful medicine and isn't safe to eat. That's why it's important to correctly identify plants before you harvest them, said Nicky. Right, Yayah? That's right. Pointing at a bush by the creek, Yayah asked, What kind of bush is that? The kids looked closely at the leaves, and Lenny picked a dried-up furry berry. Silver willow, they answered. What is it good for? Asked Yayah. You soak them, scrub off the meat, and then, using a needle and thread, make the seeds into beads, Nicky said proudly. Then we can make necklaces out of them. What a beautiful day. In our language, quemquemt means beautiful. Today we will learn the word quemquemt, said Yayah. Quemquemt. The children carefully sounded out their new word. The qu sound is made at the back of your throat. Quemquemt. It's a beautiful day, said Nicky. I'm hungry, said Lenny and Jamesy Pookins. Me too, agreed Yayah. When she found a good log to picnic on, she hollered, Lunch! Lunchtime! Lunch! Nicky hollered. After everyone sat down, Yayah handed out cups of hot sweet tea. Nicky gave everyone salmon sandwiches. We looked everywhere for tetwin, but we never found any, Karen said, disappointed. That's okay, my girl. They can be finicky, Yayah responded. Now, what will we do with the riches from our Timich, our beautiful land? I will jar my tesewita and eat my haku, Auntie Karen said happily. We'll fry them up in butter as soon as we get home, Uncle Chester added. We need to save some for winter, Auntie Susan scolded. We'll be drying our mushrooms. Remember to check for wood ticks, Jamesy Pookins shouted. I wish lightning mushrooms tasted like roasted marshmallows, said Nicky. Me too, Lenny agreed, holding up the biggest golden mushroom of all. The sun shone bright and shadows danced through the red willows and cottonwood trees. An owl flew low overhead. The breeze was cool with the warmth of spring. The Sachamamit happily gifted their elders with the food they had gathered.